Last week in Portland Metro real estate, prices were down, inventory was up, the number of homes that were new to the market was way up, and so were price reductions. However, some of this was to be expected and some of it wasn't. Let's take a look at the very latest in stats and trends. Welcome to Real Estate with Ron. I am Ron Milligan with RE/MAX Select here in Portland. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new to the channel, it would definitely help me out if you would like this video or maybe share it with someone who's worried about the market, or maybe even subscribe to this channel so that you see more videos like this in your feed on a regular basis. Now on with the report. The average sale price was down about 2% from the previous week's pretty high number. However, the average still landed 1.3% higher than last year at this time. If you remember, last month, June of 2024, ended up about 2.7% higher than June of 2023. So far for July, we're tracking at about 2.5% higher than last year. And of course, that's for our metro-wide sample, including all of Portland metro area and Southwest Washington. Now on to the supply numbers. The number of homes that buyers have to choose from is on the rise. Part of that is seasonal for our market, and part of that has to do with the really large number of homes that hit the market this past week. Part of the big jump in the new listings might be attributed to being compared to the previous week, which was the week of the 4th of July, typically a very sleepy week in Portland real estate. So I'd like to see what happens with inventory over the next week or two before I get too concerned about rising inventory and how that might have an effect on our market and sale prices. Demand was up from the previous week, but not as much as I was expecting. The number of purchase contracts agreed to by buyers and sellers was up, but you can see here in this chart that it didn't quite bounce back to pre-holiday levels. The number was also down about 15% compared to last year at this time. That's a big drop, especially when you consider that we've been outpacing last year's numbers in this metric for at least a couple months now. It is interesting that the number of lockbox opens, our best measure of high intent buyers out looking at homes with their agents, that number was only off last year's number by a hair. So buyers are out there and they are active, they're just taking their sweet time in writing offers. Now on to mortgage rates. Mortgage rates have been stubbornly stuck at a best case scenario of 6.375%, which is the best rate I could find advertised so far this week. And we've been at that rate for just shy of about a couple weeks now. Most lenders are still coming in at about 6.75% or higher. The stubborn rate that we've been stuck at has been despite falling yields in the 10-year Treasury, which is one of our indicators of where mortgage rates are headed. Central Bank Chairman Powell and a couple other Fed board members made reference to lowering rates before we reach that 2% inflation goal, which has been a significant change from that higher for longer mantra that we've been hearing for many months now. This change in tenor does have the markets excited. Currently, the markets are anticipating a rate cut in September with a 95% likelihood, which is a lot. But we have seen good odds for upcoming rate cuts evaporate in the past in a snap. So I'll believe it when I see it. Looking forward, I will be watching the inventory numbers. We do have more inventory than last year. Not a surprise if you've been watching these videos. We're about 30% more. We have 30% more homes for buyers to choose from than last year at this time, which has been the case now for at least a month, going on close to 2 months. But now it's starting to feel like we're seeing some significant downward pressure on prices that we hadn't been seeing previously, and that's in our year-over-year numbers. I'll also be watching demand pretty closely. Interest rates this year are starting to dip below what we were seeing last year at this time, so I'm curious to see if that'll have a positive effect on buyer activity and maybe get some more contracts or more buyers off the fence and back into the market. So be sure to tune in next week for the latest and greatest in Portland Metro real estate stats and trends, and I will see you then.